In this topic, we are going to talk about using queries in Access. So we're going to start off by talking a little bit about what queries are. So a query is like a question that you ask your database. So for example, we might want to know things like how many patients are over 50, what appointments have we got coming up today, what drugs have been prescribed to patients in the last month, or how many fees were paid overall this month. So once we have all our data in our database, a query is basically, like a question to ask or a way to get the information back from the database in some kind of meaningful way. So the steps for creating a query in Access. So first of all, we're going to choose the table or tables. We can get information from multiple different tables that we want to get the information from. Then we choose what fields we want to see in the results. We'll choose a sort order for the results, so it could be alphabetical or lowest to highest or so on. And lastly, we can also choose criteria to filter the results and, for example, show only patients over 50 or some other criteria like that. Okay, so we're going to jump over now to Access, and I'll go through those 4 steps then in Access. So go to underneath this video and you'll see there's a query start file there. Use this one even if you did some work on the previous section. This one has data added into all the tables, so this is probably a better one to choose. Okay, so click on that to download it and open the file that downloads, and then double click on the query start file to open it in Access. And then before you start, again, same as before, you'll probably need to save it first. So we'll do that. And you can save it into OneDrive or wherever you want. Okay, and lastly then you will also need to click on enable content, so you can just click to do that. Okay, you'll see your 5 tables that we worked on in the last couple of examples are here, but like I said, if you want to double click into any of those, you'll see there's also some information added in. So for example, in prescription, we have a number of different prescriptions for different patients. They have dates and what drug was prescribed and so on as well. Okay, and the same in all the other tables. Okay, so the first query that we are going to create is actually going to be on this prescription table. So what we are going to do is to try and look for patients who have been prescribed this specific drug here. Okay, so the drug Mefac, which is a type of painkiller. We basically are going to want to see all of the prescriptions for just that drug. So we should see these 2 and exclude all the others. Okay, so to do that, where you're going to go first of all is to the Create menu. So up at the top there, click on Create. Underneath that, you will see a section for queries, and there's 2 buttons there, Query Wizard and Query Design, and we're going to go for Query Design. So click that one. You will see then this dialog box pops up. Okay, so this is where we can add in the different tables into our query. In our case, we just want to see information that's in the prescription table, so we're just going to add that one. In a minute, I'll show you an example of a query that uses a few different tables as well. So double click on prescription to add that one. You'll see in the background there, it has added that prescription table. Okay, so once you're done, then you can click close at the bottom to close that box. If you do, by the way, if you do ever accidentally add an extra table that you didn't mean to add, you can right click on that and click on remove table to remove it. Okay, so here next then, I suppose, like I said, the first step is choosing what tables we want to add to the query. So we've done that one, and now we want to choose which fields in the table we want to see in the results. So in this case, let's say we want to see prescription number. So we'll double click on that. You can see down at the bottom of the screen here, as we double click, it's adding those fields into the query. We also want to see the date of the prescription. So we'll double click that, and what was prescribed, the drug prescribed, and the comments lastly. So double click all of those. And now you should see at the bottom of the screen, you have those 4 fields added in there. Again, just in case you ever do add one that you didn't mean to add, you can get rid of it by clicking the little gray bar just above the name of the field. So just here, it highlights the field, and then you can right click on it and go to, sorry, I must have clicked away accidentally there. Why isn't that working? Ah, yeah, just make sure you're right clicking on the bar at the top, exactly, and then click on cut to remove it. Okay, so I might do that actually, just get rid of the comments field. Okay, so in here we have our 3 fields. The next step is choosing if we want to sort in any particular order. So you'll see underneath the field name and the table name, there's a sort row. So in here we can sort, on each thing we can sort in either ascending or descending order. In this case, we are going to actually sort on date. So we'll click in the sort row underneath the date field, click the arrow there, and we're going to choose ascending order. So that's going to be oldest dates to newest dates. Okay, under that we have another row called show. Show is just basically shows the fields in the query. So if I have a field here that I decide I actually don't want to show that in the results, I can untick this box. But normally you do just want to leave them all ticked, okay? Lastly then, our criteria. So we can specify a number of different types of criteria here. We'll talk about more of those in a minute, but for this one, we're going to just do a text match. So like I said, we're going to try and find all of the MeFAC prescriptions. The field we're matching is the drugs prescribed field. So in the criteria row, underneath the drugs prescribed field, click in there, and we'll type in quotation marks, the word MeFAC. So that might look a little blurry on the video there, but it's the double quotation mark that you see on your 2 key on the keyboard and the word MeFAC within those. Okay, so that's the part then that should restrict our results to just show the prescriptions that relate to that specific drug. Right, how we see the results of this query then. So up on your menu, at the very, very start of the menu, you'll see there's a view button and a run button. View, if you want to click on that, view lets you switch between a number of different views. So we have datasheet view, design view, which we're currently in. There's also SQL view, which lets you see the code behind these queries. But we're not going to work with that at all in this module. So you can kind of just ignore that. Design view, like I said, that's where we are. Datasheet view is where we can see the results of the query. Okay, so we're going to switch over now to datasheet view. So like I said, now you'll be able to see the results of the query. So I can see here I have 2 prescriptions. They are ordered by date, so I have the previous ones first and the most recent after that. And again, yeah, it's only showing me prescriptions for that specific drug, MeFAC. Okay, so that's actually it for that query. So click Save at the top left, and it will ask you to give your query a name. So for this one, we might just call it MeFAC prescriptions, and then click OK. Okay, so that's the first query. I'm going to also do a second one. There's a couple of exercises here for you to try. So the first one is just another single table query. It's sorting patients by BMI, sorting them by name, but trying to find patients who have a BMI of over 25. You can kind of see how that one looks there, so you can try that one out yourselves. The one I'm going to go through in the video is this one, because it has a few different things going on, like joining information from a few different tables and some different types of criteria as well. Okay, so we'll have a look at that one next. I'm just going to put these side by side just for myself, but I mean, you don't really need to go and look at the instructions for this. You can still just follow along with the video for now. Okay, so we're going to go back to Create on the menu. So click on Create again, go to Query Design again. For this query, we are actually adding in information from a few different tables. So we'll be working with patient and appointment and doctor as well. So we'll add those in, patient first, appointment and doctor, and just double click to add each one and click close then once you're done. So you can see now your 3 tables are there. This also shows you the relationship between them. And if you are going to join information from 2 different tables, they do need to have a relationship between them, otherwise the query just won't work correctly. Okay, so in our case, we want to see patient name. We want to see doctor name, so we can double click on that as well. And we also want to see appointment dates and fees. If you scroll down a little bit in the appointment table, you'll see fees there as well. Okay. So with this one then, we're going to use a few different types of criteria. Actually, for a second here, I'm just going to switch over to this slide, which talks about the different types of criteria in a bit more detail. Okay, so the one we've used so far is this one here, an exact match for text. So if you're looking for exactly this word, you just wrap it in quotation marks as you see there. If we were looking for exactly the number 75, we would just put 75 in. But with numbers, we can also use these different operators here. So greater than, or less than or equal to, and so on as well. Okay, so for the one where you're looking for the patient BMI of over 25, for example, you'd be using this criteria here. For dates then, we can specify date like this to find today's date. So this is a date function here that basically gets today's date, and if I put that in as a criteria in appointment, say, it would show me all the appointments for today. If I did less than date, I would see all the past appointments, or if I put the greater than symbol before date, I'd see all the future appointments, and so on. Lastly then, you can also use this keyword like. You can use like wherever you don't know the full criteria that you want to specify. So for example, you know that the number starts with 051, but you don't know what comes after it or whatever. Okay, so if you want to see all numbers starting with 051, you use like, and then also this asterisk character here that represents the kind of the missing information. So this will find all numbers starting with 051. The 051 and the asterisks need to be wrapped in quotation marks as well, as you can see there. And lastly then, this is another example of using like to find all patient names that start with the letter D. Again, D and the asterisks here. If I wanted patient names ending in D, it would be asterisk D instead. Okay, so that's all the different types of criteria. So just to jump back over then to Access, and zoom in on this down here. So we're going to, under criteria for doctor name, we're going to specify that we want to see doctor names starting with J. So put in like, and then quotation marks, J, and an asterisk. Okay, so we'll find all doctor names starting with J. Next then, we want to see all appointments that were in the past. So that's using less than and date, and that's an open and close bracket there just after date. Okay, and lastly, fees. We want to see all appointment fees that were more than 40. So we'll put greater than 40 in underneath fees. Okay, so with those few criteria set, we should be good to go. On the menu, just again, go to the very start of the menu, and I just wanted to show you the other option here for running your query. So as well as switching to datasheet view, you can also click run. They both do exactly the same thing basically. So run, if you want to click that, you'll see again, it just switches over to show you the results of the query. So here you can see we have our doctor name. We only have one doctor with the name starting with the letter J. So this is Julia Barnes. It's showing me all the past appointments and the fees are greater than 40. So it's matched all our different criteria there. Okay, so I'm just going to save that one. You can call it, because there's a few things going on with this one, we can maybe just call it multi-criteria query or something like that. Okay, and click OK. Okay, and lastly then, there is an exercise there underneath the video. So you can switch over to that now at this point and try out the first one there if you want on patient BMI. The second one we've just done, and there's also more queries there as well. So try out some of these, as many as you have time for. For some of them, all the information you need might be in one table, like this one, patient name and heart rate are both in the patient table. So that's just a single query, a single table query. But the next one, for example, show all patients who were born after 1980 and have been prescribed MeFAC. Some of that information, like patient date of birth, comes from the patient table, and some comes from the prescription table. So you'll need to add both of those in. So give those a go. I hope you get on okay with them, but if you have any questions as you're going through it, just let me know and I'll come over.